As a high school student intrigued by Australia's relationship with China, the lift on the ban on timber was great to hear. Yet there is still a disturbing rise in China's use of economic coercion in the Pacific, possibly threatening Australia's security. How can Australia strike a greater balance between trade while keeping Australia safe from China's military advancements?
Kevin, I know you've been very exercised around these issues.
Yeah, look, it's a very complex situation. We have an unusual situation where we export over 30% of our goods and services to China and have done even when the relationship went a bit cold there for a while. So this is a delicate relationship. So, look, I think the thawing has been healthy. I think the government has done some good things with the thawing. I even applaud the fact that I think the Prime Minister should, if he's invited to go to China at the end of this year with around the 50th anniversary, to keep dialogue as always healthy. That being said, I believe that China still have many trade coercive policies against us. Punitive tariff measures that shouldn't be in place. So I'm the Chinese ambassador. I actually had lunch with the Chinese ambassador a few weeks ago, and he's asked me to go to China this year, which I will take up if that's appropriate. But also, China have asked Australia and other countries to start a working group to help their extension to what we call the CPTPP. That is a multilateral trading group that's based around the Pacific, but the UK have just joined it as well. So I would be saying to the government that at the moment, while they have those punitive barriers and tariffs against us, that we should not lift a finger or do anything to assist China starting a process to apply for the CPTPP. They are using trade coercively. This isn't an Australia-China thing. It's a China-Japan thing, a China-Canada thing, a China-Lithuania thing, a China-South Korea thing, where trade issues have come up. So I think we need to be much tougher with them about trying to gain extension to things like the CPTPP.
You mentioned that you do support the Prime Minister going to China. I've heard that some argue that there should be a condition on that they have to lift trade sanctions before he goes. Do you think it has to happen in that order?
Well, not necessarily. I think him going is healthy. I think if he has, head-to-head meetings, and again, this is about chatting and about dialogue and about relationship building, and I had a chat to the Minister before he went to China a couple of weeks ago. So, look, I think that's healthy. Obviously I wish everything was dropped tomorrow. I think everything should be dropped tomorrow because I think it's all illegal, what they're doing. We are into a rules-based trading system. As a small trading country, it's been very beneficial to us, open trade. So, but the CPTPP, I mean, the Chinese ambassador has said, let's start a working group. Let's Australia be part of that working group. I don't think we should go anywhere near it, and we should make sure the CPTP is a group don't even start the process while they have these illegal, what I think are illegal and punitive tariffs and barriers.
But you give the government credit for the thawing of the relationship?
Yeah, look, I think good things have happened. There have been some relaxations of some of them. I think China itself looked at it and thought the wolf warrior diplomacy wasn't really working. It was win-win to drop some of those. So, look, it's been a healthy trend, but we need it to happen it's been very slow, though.
James, how do you view it? Obviously, we're walking a very fine line here, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, what a very Stan Grant question of you. Sorry, it's a...
I'm channeling him.
Absorbing his energy today, yeah. Look, it is a very fine balance. I think it is good that the government had this thawing relationship. I think a lot of the discourse around China over the last couple of years has not been healthy. We saw with the Solomon Islands Pact, some commentators saying we should go to war with China or invade the Solomons over the issue. Very kind of concerning stuff. This kind of hyper fear around China. So it's good to see that kind of the tone has sort of changed a bit. I think that's really important for the relationship. How can we have these dialogues and these kind of relational understandings with China, because they are doing a lot of things that are harmful to Australia. They are acting in a way that's not necessarily benign, but we still have a very important trading relationship with them. I think it is important that the dialogue is improved and that the Prime Minister hopefully will go to Beijing and, again, continue that kind of process of dialogue and understanding where we can hopefully find some common ground on some issues, but also where Australia can also, we do need to stick firm on some of these very kind of important national security issues that China is kind of behaving on.
Of course, and then it brings us back to the other theme, which is human rights, Jen, and raising those issues. That's another difficulty, and we talked about it before in relation to India and our obligations to raise those issues. How do we manage those significant issues, for instance, the Uyghurs?
Well, look, I think engagement with China is important, and I'm pleased to see our government taking a different stance. The warmongering and the beating of the war drum with China that we saw from the previous government and in some parts of the media is incredibly troubling. So it's great that we're getting away from that. But of course, again, like India, all of our engagement with foreign powers, including China, must consider human rights. And if we look at what's happening in China, even beyond the Uyghurs, look what's happening in Hong Kong. There's the fastest growing political prisoner population anywhere in the world is in Hong Kong right now. They're closing down the media. Apple Daily, my client, is in prison. Jimmy Lai facing life in prison for publishing the truth. This is problematic, and this should be part of our engagement with China.